Welcome to the second case in our series ABG of the Week. This is a very interesting case, and I assure you there's a lot that we're going to learn from this case. A 76-year-old diabetic hypertensive female with a recent anterior wall myocardial infarction and severe left ventricular dysfunction presented with worsening shortness of breath. A blood gas was done, and this is the data. You have the blood gases, you have the electrolytes, and the serum lactate value. Like in the previous case, I want you to interpret this ABG. But in order to do that, you must first pause this video and then take a paper, pencil, and a calculator and answer this question under the following four headings. 1. What is the oxygenation status? 2. What is the ventilator status? 3. What is the acid-base status? And 4. A good clinical summary taking the history and laboratory data into consideration, identifying the etiology of each abnormality, and commenting on any treatment modification that needs to be done. So pause this video, and once you've done that, once you've committed an answer on paper, then resume this video. Now resuming this video, let's start with oxygenation status. This patient's PaO2 is more than 100. It's certainly more than what we require. So this patient has hyperoxemia. But patient is not on room air. Patient is on 40% oxygen. And on 40% oxygen, we would have expected a PaO2 of around 200. So there is definitely an oxygenation problem. We need to calculate the alveolar arterial gradient, which is calculated as the alveolar PaO2 minus the arterial PaO2. And the alveolar PaO2 is calculated as 713 into the FiO2 minus 1.25 into the PaCO2. From this alveolar PaO2, you need to subtract the arterial PaO2 and get the alveolar arterial gradient, which in this case is 78.4. This is much higher than expected. An expected alveolar arterial gradient in this patient would be less than 30. And all this suggests is that there's an underlying lung pathology. Let's go on to the ventilator status. If you look at the PaCO2, it is within the normal range, and therefore we would say that ventilation in this case is normal. Coming to the acid-base status. First look at the pH. There's acidemia, and the low bicarbonate explains this, so there's a primary metabolic acidosis. What is the next step? As we saw in the previous case, you must look at compensation. So looking at the compensation, you know that in metabolic acidosis, the fall in PaCO2 is 1 to 1.5 times the fall in bicarbonate. The expected PaCO2 comes to 19 to 26. In this patient, the PaCO2 is much higher, 38.2. And this means that there is a primary respiratory acidosis which explains the higher PaCO2 than expected. The next step in primary metabolic acidosis is to calculate the anion gap. So the anion gap is 128 minus 100 plus 10, which is 18. So the actual anion gap is 18. What is the expected anion gap? We start with 12. We need to apply a pH correction. In this case, because of acidemia, the correction is minus 2. And albumin is not given, so we cannot correct for that. So expected anion gap is 10. What do we find? That the actual anion gap is much higher than the expected anion gap. So this patient has a high anion gap metabolic acidosis, abbreviated as HAGMA. In every case of high anion gap metabolic acidosis, you must look for hidden disorders, and to do that, you calculate the delta anion gap, which in this case is 8. We take this 8 and add it to the actual bicarbonate to get the corrected bicarbonate. The corrected bicarbonate in this case comes to only 18. It doesn't reach 24, which means that there is a hidden normal anion gap metabolic acidosis also in this patient. To conclude, this patient has hyperoxemia, and we could definitely try to reduce the FiO2. This patient has normal ventilation, and in terms of acid-base disorder, patient has a high anion gap metabolic acidosis, a normal anion gap metabolic acidosis, and an acute respiratory acidosis. Now, what could be the cause of high anion gap metabolic acidosis? If you look at the serum lactates, they're elevated. So definitely there is some lactic acidosis. But does that explain the whole high anion gap that is seen? Certainly not. Because the lactate of 2.3 would be expected to reduce the bicarbonate by a same amount. So your bicarbonate from 24 may come down to 21, 22, but it's 10. And therefore, in addition to lactic acidosis, there has to be another disorder. And that additional disorder most likely is a diabetic ketoacidosis, because this patient is a known diabetic. And you're also seeing here a pattern of low sodium high potassium, which is seen in a few conditions, but also seen in diabetic ketoacidosis. So the blood sugar needs to be checked, and that may be an important component in the treatment planning of this patient. What is the cause of normal anion gap metabolic acidosis? In this patient who is a diabetic, most certainly this is renal tubular acidosis type 4. Of course, you would need to work it up, but renal tubular acidosis type 4 could be due to many things in this case, diabetes being one of them. This patient would be on ACE inhibitors or potassium sparing diuretics, all of which can cause RTA type 4. But the most alarming thing in this case and worth learning is that despite the PaCO2 being normal, it's much higher than would be expected in this case, and this acute respiratory acidosis is an ominous sign which may be the only indication of respiratory muscle fatigue setting in. And therefore, with the lung pathology, most certainly a pulmonary edema with this background of LV dysfunction and acute myocardial infarction, this person is fatiguing out. You would seriously consider putting him on the ventilator. So what did we learn in this case? I think we learned a lot of important things. In this case, we saw that the PaO2 was more than 100, but it wasn't something to be very happy about because it didn't mean that the lungs were normal. We had to correlate it with the FiO2, and we realized that there's an underlying lung pathology. The alveolar arterial gradient is increased, and in fact, this patient has pulmonary edema. The other thing we learned, which is very important, is that though the PaCO2 is normal, it was high for this patient and an early indication of respiratory muscle fatigue and the need for mechanical ventilation. And we also saw that though this patient had a high anion gap metabolic acidosis and the lactates were increased, that cannot be assumed to be the only reason for the high anion gap metabolic acidosis. We need to see whether the lactate levels explains the bicarbonate, which in this case it did not, and therefore we had to postulate and clinically look out for another cause, which in this patient most probably is diabetic ketoacidosis. I hope you like these videos and I hope you learn from it. As I said before, please subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon so that you can be notified as and when we upload a video. We plan to upload videos at least once a week. Please leave comments. Your comments are a source of inspiration for us and very useful to correct any mistake we could have made or understand how much you have understood and what you have not understood and what we need to probably re-explain in simpler terms or different terms. And maybe we could make another video for that. If you have an interesting case in your clinical practice, please send that blood gas along with the short summary to us on abgoftheweek@gmail.com. Stay safe and enjoy the learning.